The Phantom X is much better than you give it credit for. Let me start this video off with a little defense before everyone comes at me in the comments. I started off as a Phantom Thief with Persona 5 Royal. I joined the investigation team in Persona 4. I came back to join the summer in Persona 5 Strikers. I helped Z stop the Dark Hour in Persona 3 Reload. I hunted down demons in Tokyo in Shin Megami Tensei 3 and 5. I full comboed into Ghastly Wail of Elizabeth. I even beat Fire Emblem Tokyo Mirage Sessions just because it was a random collaboration that they did with Atlas. This game was a fever dream. Now, I love storytelling. In any form of media, my top two priorities in anything are good storytelling and good characters. So long as you have these two things, I can consider you a good product. Especially in the market right now where many games will sacrifice one of these two things in favor of visual appeal. Especially in the gacha market, it's honestly refreshing to have a game that focuses so much on its characters and its storytelling. For reference, this is a small list of a bunch of games that I've played and thoroughly enjoyed, and my personal top favorites. So if there's one thing that I can confidently say, Persona 5, The Phantom X, is in fact a Persona game. For this video, I want to focus on the main things that in my opinion make Persona, Persona. Namely, I want to talk about the gameplay, the story, the characters, and the music. I won't be going over all of the gacha portions as I have way too many thoughts about that to fit into this video. Probably say that for a future one. But first, the gameplay. It's more Persona 5. If you enjoy the combat of Persona 5, you'll enjoy the combat of Persona 5X. This game takes the Persona 5 formula, and in my opinion, expands upon it. Enemies now have down shields, very reminiscent of Octopath Traveler, adding another layer of dealing with boss weakness or trying to brute force with physical crits. I will always be a huge advocate of this system ever since dealing with it in Octopath Traveler. Elemental attacks are able to crit now. Though it won't knock down the enemy, it's nice being able to finally see elemental skills hitting for crits. Characters now also have their own specific kits, and honestly, this gives each character so much more personality. Each character receives a kit that is able to tell its own story within the kits themselves. Why does Marianne have such a hyper focus on healing? Because her ultimate desire is to be a nurse just like her mother. And in all honesty, I don't see how these characters having specific kits is any different than the Persona party members leveling up and getting their preset skills. Ryuji doesn't really get a lot beyond electrical and physical moves. It's not like you're playing Ryuji with the thought that eventually he might learn Mechadoleon. Even if it would be pretty cool if he did. And there is no better example of this than with our main navis, Futaba and Fuka. In the base games, you are more often than not just waiting around for Futaba to activate moral support. Maybe. Randomly. Or praying that Fuka doesn't randomly, accidentally cause all of C's to die.
Got it. Oracle, standing by.
Are you fucking kidding me, Fuka?
Quite possibly the worst time for that to have happened.
Someone remind me, who decided that Fuka was better than Rise? She's still pissed off that we broke up with her.
Maybe it was not a good idea to break up with Fuka the week before.
This is gonna hurt. This is gonna really hurt. That's so dumb, though!
Maybe they'll feel like boosting this all-out attack. Maybe. I cannot understate how happy it makes me feel to hit that Navi button, seeing the screen glitch out, and out pops out our little shit-eating grin gremlin sitting in Necronomicon, waiting to tell the enemies to go eat some ass. Navis actually feel like an active part of the team now, and not like they're just there to spit some voice lines at you. And hey, one day we might finally get that male Navi for longer than one palace. Challenge fights and bosses are also significantly juiced up. Black Wings actually went out and made a ton of fights have very different mechanics and ways to fight them. Yatsufusa will summon the Tamas, making you resist every element unless you manage to inflict them with at least 3 elemental elements. The Dominion boss fight is still one of the only fights with 6 enemies to deal with at a time. Even event bosses will often have specific modifiers to try and deal with. P5X is filled with so many bosses like that go beyond just hit weakness, guard when big attack comes, heal when damaged, keep buffs up, and all of this still doesn't get into one of my favorite mechanics that they've expanded upon. Showtimes in Persona 5, while very cool looking, were kind of impractical. You couldn't work towards showtimes. You had no way of knowing when they would show up, and even oftentimes you might not even want them to use a showtime, especially if it's on someone like Morgana or Makoto who you might need to fully heal the party instead. Now, highlights are, in my opinion, the best iteration of this mechanic. Every member of your team helps work towards highlights. Your on-field party all have their own unique highlights. Each highlight does something different. You can use a character's highlight outside of their turn to really push the numbers. And to top it all off, just to make sure you aren't spamming the same highlight over and over again, there's a cooldown timer to make you really think about your optimal rotations. Now, the story. I'm gonna be blunt. The 3rd and 4th palaces are some of the strongest writing in the entire series. Again, I'm saying this as someone who has played through the modern Persona games. More than likely this is due to a change of lead writer after many people felt like the first 2 palaces are mediocre. Now, I'm not gonna say that Kyuchi or Miyazawa are groundbreaking villains. I actually wish they handled their character arcs a lot better. What I can appreciate though is the story that they are trying to tell, and I legitimately do think it is a lot better than most people give it credit for. And in my opinion, it all comes down to purpose. When I go through the modern Persona games, and even when I watch playthroughs of Persona 1 and 2, there is always this underlying message within the Persona franchise of gaining the strength to face challenges. Persona 3 forces us to stare death in the face and asks us to give meaning to what little time we have. Persona 4 forces us to stare at ourselves, our deepest, darkest secrets, the ones we wish we didn't have, and asks us to embrace it. Persona 5 forces us to face our oppressors, the very people who would stand to watch as you and I crumble as they line their pockets and fight back for what's right. From this, in my opinion, Persona 5 The Phantom X gives us a deviation of Persona 5's idea. Whereas Persona 5 asks us to face the reality of those in power, Persona 5X asks us to face the reality of those around us. Persona 5's villains always had this level of authority. They have some level of power that allows them to exert their influence over others. Kamoshida is your teacher at Sujin, Madarame is the adoptive father of Yusuke, Kaneshiro is a mob boss and he has underworld influence, I guess. Okumura and Sai are the direct and seemingly only family Makoto and Haru have left, and so on. Persona 5X's villains don't really have as much authority in our protagonists. Kyuichi is just some random person who started slamming, Miyazawa is just some random person who started hating, Akashi is some random person who just randomly showed up one day. Now, a lot of people might have issues with that, but I actually think it makes the story a lot stronger and plays into the overall concepts of 5X. These aren't villains that you grow to hate over time because they've wronged you over and over. These are the villains we see in our day-to-day lives. These are the people we pass by on the street every day. These are the people we turn a blind eye to. How many times have we as a society watched something happen and just decided to keep walking in fear of the consequences our helpful action could cause? How many times have we as a society attempted to do a good thing just for those good intentions to be twisted against us? Persona 5X is about the reality of our current world. Take a look at your local news and just scroll. See what's happening outside in the world, in your country, in your home. Every day that goes by, it kind of feels like we as a society become more and more numb to what's happening in the real world, as if our own desires to be good people is being taken away. And from this, I think this is what a lot of people get wrong about P5X. This game isn't trying to copy the original Persona 5 by talking about rebellion. The Phantom Thieves in P5X represent desire. They are the Phantom Thieves of desires. Your desires. What do you want for yourself? What do you truly want to become? Do you want to be that nurse just like your mother? Do you want to be that super cool action hero that you've always seen on TV? Do you want to be a firefighter to spare people the pain of losing loved ones in a fire? All of us have dreams, wishes, desires that we want to make a reality. Desires that we, over time, lose out on, whether it's because you were told by people you trust that you weren't capable, having an accident occur to you outside of your control, or simply just not believing that you're capable. I think a lot of us can understand this feeling of having our desires slowly slip away from us. I also think a lot of us can agree to this shared feeling of the outside world. Every day it feels like there's a new wave of drama, a new wave of issues, a new wave of problems. Over time, it's easy to become desensitized to stuff that we constantly see. What I think the original writer of P5X was trying to go for originally was this idea of facing reality and our own peers. I know a lot of us memed Kyuichi for being the subway slammer, and the subway is his for the slamming, but the reality of the world is honestly not that far off. Even if you believe that none of this stuff really happens, the reality is they do. It happens a lot, and it happens a lot more often than you think. Even in the West, subway crime is a big issue. Some of these assaults are literally just from this year, as of me recording. Then there's Miyazawa. Even I was someone who initially mocked Miyazawa. The idea of basically a glorified Yelp reviewer going around leaving bad reviews and causing family-owned businesses to fail? That sounded a little too far-fetched to me. That wasn't until one day I was scrolling through YouTube and stumbled across this video. A glorified Yelp reviewer going around leaving intentionally bad reviews and trying to make family-owned businesses fail? Gee, I wonder where I've seen that one before. I'm not gonna sit here and try to convince you that the first two palaces are amazing storytelling. They're not. A solid 6, but not groundbreaking. They definitely could have been handled better. However, I'm also not gonna sit here and deny that I don't see the writer's intentions. The intention to bring light to issues that we often overlook. Even recently, when I was scrolling through the Persona Phantom X subreddit, this was a post that I found one day. Subway slamming is a major issue that deeply affects Japan, and it happens for a multitude of horrible reasons, not even stopping at sexual harassment. The government has tried to do many things to try to alleviate it, but you know, it's the government. The real issue isn't us. The people who decide to go out and hurt people, and the people who see it happen and continue to walk away. This was a comment I saw in that thread. Most Americans can't really relate to the issue because it doesn't happen to most people who live here. Now, if you change the subway slammer to road rager who does hit and runs and cuts people off, that would make more sense to at least the US audience. Which, in my opinion, completely misses the entire point of the story of P5X. Kyuichi and Miyazawa got away with what they did, not because of any great intelligence of their own, but because of the general apathy in the public. Because people refused to help. Because people refused to intervene. People refused to even try. They didn't want it to happen to them, but at the same time, they also don't believe it's that much of an issue like the comment before, because it doesn't affect them. But then that raises the big question that P5X is trying to ask. Just because something doesn't happen to you, does that mean it's not important? The main thieves of P5X are some of my favorite in the entire series, and in my opinion, no. They're not trying to be just carbon copies of the original Persona 5 cast. Each one of the 5X thieves have enough charm and personality to them to differentiate them from the OG thieves. Multaha is nothing like Ryuji and honestly kinda just feels like Chie got transported from Persona 4 into Shibuya. Shun is almost the complete opposite of Yusuke, being the more serious of the three stooges. And yes, that is what I'm going to call these three, because they collectively, actively, share one brain cell among them that's currently on life support from being drowned in ramen broth. Riko acts as the strategist and the main straight man of the group, who in all honesty has a much better arc about finding herself than Makoto's. And Lufel. God, Lufel. Lufel is like the entire atmosphere of oxygen after having to deal with Morgana annoying me every 2 seconds to go to sleep, or Teddy just being absolutely insufferable every frame he exists. Even outside of the main cast, there's a lot of cool characters to choose from with a wide variety of stories, and I'm honestly really impressed with how inclusive the game seems to be going. We have adult Persona users, child Persona users, animal Persona users, hell, even our anniversary unit, who's extremely strong, is a survivor. That's all I'm going to say about that. They each have their own dreams and personalities, all of which have this underlying message of just chasing your own desires. And if you don't like them, cool, don't get them. Now I know a lot of people are put off by gachas and the entire idea of gachas. Let me be the first to say that if you are a person who does not have self-control and you really can't control yourself from swiping that card, then yes, I would say to stay away from P5X and gachas as a whole. I would also say to probably ignore about 50% of the gaming market. At least definitely 80% of the online gaming market. However, if you were to also ask me, and trust me, I have played these games before. P5X is one of, if not the most free-to-play friendly gachas in the entire market. If I were to get into absolutely everything, that would probably be an entire video in and of itself. But overall, the game being a gacha does at least lend itself to help out the themes of the story. The feeling of constantly being in a loop just like Wonder, the feelings of constantly doing the same things just like Wonder, the feeling of constantly doing the same thing over and over and over again just like Wonder. Again, if you are not a fan of gacha games, then I would say that maybe Persona 5X isn't the game for you. But at the same time, it is definitely not as money hungry as some other games that I have played and tried. And then finally, the music. God, the music. Persona 5X makes sure to include a lot of the old tracks from the original Persona 5 and Royal, but there's also so many tracks in this gacha game that are just so good. Even I would go so far as to say that some of these tracks are even much better than the base game. And they brought back Lyn. Like they brought back Lyn. They brought back Lyn for the supposed cash grab. You probably heard some of the tracks going throughout this video, but let me at least show you a few of my favorites. And the fact that Palace Rulers now even get their own boss theme that also makes sure to include Blooming Villain as its leitmotif, it's just amazing. Overall, in my opinion, P5X is a very faithful spin-off to the franchise. You can very much tell that Black Wings are very much also big Persona fans. The main reason why I wanted to make this video as well, I guess a direct response to the amount of hate this game has been getting, both from the Persona fans and from Gacha fans. I'm going to be honest, a lot of this hate is wildly overblown and honestly some arguments are kind of stupid. I hope that at the very least you give P5X a chance. Even if it's just for the story portions, there's lots to love about this game, even from afar. I'm not asking you to spend your money, all I'm asking is that you give it the chance that it deserves.